Hi everybody, and welcome back. It is February 2nd, I think, and I decided to film a video because I've made a ton of progress. Last weekend, I had not stitched the week before very much, and I was like, didn't have much to show. And then I stepped it into high gear and more than made up for it, and so this week I have a lot to show. And my favorite thing, best thing, big news, big finish. It's done. Lady Hera is done. Oh, this is a remarkable piece. It's wonderful. The peacock's tail is amazing. This was the first Mirabilia pattern, and I've stitched maybe 6-ish, 5-ish. I finished 5, I think. This was the first one where I actually had to highlight in order to kind of keep my place, but it was so worth it. I loved it. It's beautiful and amazing. Not that I'm like, all the Mirabilias are beautiful and amazing. And when I say that, I also mean that like Nora Corbett is a genius, and I love her because I will stitch just about anything that she designs. So anyway, this is on a 32 count linen that I think is Picture This Plus, but I'm not sure what colorway it is. Unfortunately, I don't remember it being marked in the shop where I bought it, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't marked. I wasn't paying much attention to it at that time. I wasn't doing Floss Tube when I started this channel, or when I started this project. So anyway, here we go. The beading, I'm really, really glad that I beaded as I went along, because there are a lot of beads in this project, and it would have driven me crazy to have to go back and like do so many beads. And so if you've been watching my previous videos, you know I've had it on a scroll frame, and it's perfectly fine, like sort of beading as I've gone along and then rolling the piece up and having the beads on it was not a problem. So it looks nice. So anyway, this is like my big news for this video, that I finished Lady Hera by Mirabilia, and I'm not sure when I'm going to take it to get framed, but yeah, hopefully sometime soon. One change that I made is that on the bottom with the sort of lime green beads, there aren't quite as many because I actually ran out of beads. And I made the decision to finish up some of the smaller whorls. So to finish up some of the smaller bits here, and there's supposed to be some more beads that go along that way. And I was kind of ready to be done, and I liked the look of it, and I said, that's it, no more, I'm done. And then I also added my initials to the bottom, and I used the deep teal that's in the peacock's tail, and in looking around for a font to use, I couldn't quite find one, and then I was like, dummy, you can you can stitch it over one and then have way more options for alphabets to use and still kind of make my initials small and kind of blend in but stand out at the same time. So I ended up choosing a kind of medieval-ish free online alphabet that I stitched right there, and that's about it. So anyway, there we go. That's my big finish. And as of right now, I don't have anything on my scroll frame in its place. So I have Roses of Provence, which I could put on that scroll frame. And I also have some other kitted up Miras. Another one being Renaissance Mermaid, which may be the next one up on that frame, because I feel empty. My frame is sitting on in its place. There's no needlework on it, and this, I said, like, I can't this cannot be. I must have a big Mira or a lavender and lace on that frame. Like, hands down, has to be that way. So hopefully by next week I'll have something else sort of started, but for right now I've got a nice finish, and I'm really pleased to get a finish in January. And so I finished it January 31st, and I was determined to get it finished, to have something finished in January. So that was mostly what I worked on. I also did spend a few hours working on my Egypt garden by Chatelaine. So let me show you what that should look like when it's done. And here is Egypt garden now. I had wanted to get a lot farther on this before filming, but it was not to be. So I finished all of the flowers around here. This is one shade of Gloriana for the stems and then 2 shades for the actual flowers. And then I did decide to just go with one color for the dark blue fill-in, and so far it's looking really nice and it's really easy. So I've got that to finish up, and then there's some spots of black and then a navy that goes all around it, and of course some beads that go here and some beads. Every flower has a bead right there. So potentially by the next time I film, I will have this whole center, like the next sort of level of work done. But it's beautiful so far, and I'm loving it, and it's fantastic, and the colors are pretty true to how they're showing up. So this is Egypt Garden by Chatelaine. Another whip that I made progress on is my Floral Star, my counted canvas piece. Let's see. Here's a picture. So there's that. And I did spend some time working on the Dastardly Purple. So I have been able to, I think I started here, so I've been able to do this and all the way around and all the way up here. So I don't have that much more purple. I need to do this sort of the last fourth of that border. And then there's the darker green is a skinny border all the way around, and that should go like that. So those are basically the 3 whips that I focused on over the past 2 weeks. I also have a new start. So if you've watched the past couple of videos, you will know that I lost my full coverage stitchy bug like nobody's business. Like, it was gone. I haven't stitched on a full coverage piece for months. And I realized that what I needed to do was maybe have like a new start. So I started a project that I showed you guys a while ago as a possibility, and I just bit the bullet and I got it out and it worked. So I have my full coverage stitchy bug back. I have not been working on the other pieces like Treasure Hunt Bookshelf that I have started before, but I can feel myself kind of getting interested in working on those. So anyway, so this is Meeting on the Turret Stairs. And it's charted by Heaven and Earth Design. And it's beautiful. I love artwork like that. That's kind of historical and romantic and the like. And first I will say actually that my mother, who is wonderful, made me a project bag. I wouldn't normally go for like this type of fabric, but it's bright and sparkly, and on kind of a gloomy day and, you know, feeling not so great, I saw this and ended up you know, picking this fabric out, and she made me a bag. She watched tutorials online. She's an excellent sewer. And so she made me a bag. So thank you. It's wonderful. Okay, back to the stitching. So let me show you my start. It's a very modest start. I'm using Pattern Keeper. I think I've done like 400-ish stitches so far, and I think I've worked on this maybe like 2 nights. But the top sort of corner is confetti, and then there's like a ton of black, and then the characters. But when I was kind of scrolling through the pattern, there isn't a lot of confetti. But anyway, this time I kept the tag on. It is a 28 count cream Lugana. So, and I just put it on a Q-snap and have some fabric here to kind of protect it, because I found that like the off-brand Q-snaps that I'm finding at places like Michael's, they snag the fabric when taking them on and off. So, you know, I guess it's always a good idea to have some kind of like fabric protection. But anyway, this is my new start and I'm really happy about it. Okay, haul. Maybe another year I will successfully be able to do Stitch from Stash, but apparently it is not this year. Not this year. But that's okay. It's okay. One of my hopefully soon to be starter projects is the Peacock Keeper by Lindy Stitches, which I think in this lighting it's hard to tell the colors, but I seem to be developing a thing for peacocks. I love stitching them. I love the colors. And I ended up ordering the threads, and the fabric is still on its way. I ordered it January 13th and it still isn't here, but it has been shipped, so hopefully I can start it soon. So the fabric is coming, and I had, when I initially ordered the threads, this one wasn't in stock, but I ordered Presidential Blue. So now I have all of the called for threads, and I'm hoping that it will be enough. Now, a little thread can't travel alone. No. So I have, actually this is like a couple of orders, and even some I ordered through Amazon. So I have some charts, I have some fabric and everything. I have loved the Nora Corbett's Bewitching Pixies, and I do have one of them, but not my favorites. So I just went ahead and ordered 2 of my favorites. So my favorite right now is Gigi. And then I ordered Eva as well. So I'm hoping that prior to Halloween, maybe sometime this summer, maybe sooner, I want to start at least one of these, and, you know, with an eye to finishing it at some point. I also ordered the Bliss Fairy by Mirabilia because I have the Petal Fairy and am planning on stitching it, but I wanted the companion piece to it. And then this is one that I've had my eye on for a long time, but I ordered Fairy Flora. And this is the 7th design. This is from 94. So that's my other one. Any other charts? Oh yes. This is one that a lot of people have gotten. I haven't seen it being worked on by anybody yet, and I'm thinking about doing a color conversion, but this is Night Walked Down by the Blue Flower. And it says Night Walked Down the Sky with the moon in her hand. And so the colors are not quite my color palette, so I'm considering a type of conversion to maybe more jewel toned colors, maybe using silks, but I think it's gorgeous. The model is stitched on 40 count. I don't know if I would go that small, but maybe I would choose a 36 count. But anyway, so those are the patterns that I got. So I also decided to get fabric for a couple of patterns that I have that I've wanted. So the first one, for the Black Friday sale, I got Sampler Cove's Enya, and I ordered the Gloriana that go with it, just calls for 2 skeins, and I ordered the called for fabric. So I ordered 36 count Magnolia, and I've never done a project on 36 count, but I'm hoping it will be okay and it will work. I think it will. I've decided to be optimistic about it. Another pattern, this is a recent acquisition, is the Peacock and Pomegranate, which I told you like is pretty large. And this is turned out a little bit yellower than I thought it would, but I got, so this is a 36 count Winter Moon Edinburgh linen, an 18 by 27 piece, which should be just fine for fitting this on it. And so hopefully, and I think I'm just going to use the called for DMC on this, so that can be started anytime. I also took Stephanie from Lindy Stitches. I took her advice kind of, and I ended up adding a couple of pieces of small Picture This Plus fabric because I wanted to know what color they were in real life. And I'll pop in a picture here. I have a couple of like small patterns that I've gotten from Etsy that I could stitch on some of these. But here they are. So this was the one I was most interested in, and this is a 32 count Gothic, which, sorry, I don't have one of those like whiteboards, but yeah, so it's deep purple and blue. I really like it. I also got some 32 count Mystic. Yep, Mystic. And then some Mirage in 32 count, which it has a lot more kind of gray blue in it than I thought. So I'm glad I went ahead and, you know, these were very inexpensive, and I have, like I said, lots of little patterns that I can stitch on them. But just so I have in my hands a real life idea, if I want to stitch like some of the Bewitching Pixies on something like this dark, I know I have a true sense of like what the actual colors are. So anyway, there's that. So speaking of fabric, for a while now I have been interested in joining a Fabric of the Month club, and the one I hear the most about, Color and Cotton, has been full. So I ended up joining, perhaps temporarily, the I think it's Fiberlicious, to try out their fabrics for a month or two and see what they're like. So I'm anticipating that maybe sometime this month, now that we're in February. And it was funny, a few days ago, because for Color and Cotton, so going back to Color and Cotton, I had my name on the list, and I got an email at like 9:48 at night that spots were opening up in the Fabric of the Month club. And I immediately got on that, and I went to the website and I knew exactly what I wanted, and I was just like, you know, click, and just trying to get, you know, through PayPal, everything. I was going as fast as I could, and literally by the time I had gone through PayPal, like minutes later, it was sold out. I had wanted the fat quarter of the 32 count linen, gone. Tried the fat quarter of the 28 count linen, gone. And we're talking like less than 10 minutes, all of this is happening. And I decided to try a third time, and I ended up having to go for the fat half of the 32 count linen, and I was able to get that to go through. And maybe at some point, hopefully, I can step down to the fat quarter. But I guess I'm not that surprised, because I, like, literally within a few minutes of that email coming through, it was selling out. Like, the spots were selling out. So hopefully over the next couple of months, I'll have a couple of fabrics to show you. And I think all of the fabrics are beautiful. I've got tons of patterns. And I think, you know, I don't have an LNS, so I think having some beautiful fabrics come, you know, in the mail, I will be able to use them for something. And, you know, I won't do it forever, but at least for a little bit, it'll bring some like stitching happiness to my door, maybe. But anyway, so that happened, and that's exciting. Plans. So for the next coming week or two, I am going to be concentrating on my chatelaine, on finishing my counted canvas, and hopefully, making progress on my full coverage piece, my meeting on the turret stairs, and potentially starting the peacock keeper or peacock and pomegranate, or both. And just keeping stitching. In a couple of weeks, I'm also going on vacation, so that will be exciting, and I'm hoping to hit up an LNS or two whilst I am there, because like I've said in some comments to other people, when I go to a new place, the first thing I do is I look up bookstores and needle workshops, because that, aside from like major museums or monuments or whatever, that's mostly what I want to do myself. And speaking of books, so stitching talk kind of done for today, I think. I got a stitching related book, and it's not cross stitch. So this is, I have been a knitter for a long time. I learned to knit when I was about like 3 or 4 years old. So, more than 30 years I have been knitting. And this book came out, I think, on the 29th of January, but it is Harry Potter Knitting Magic. And this has gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous projects in it. I think I want to make like everything. I love the knitted Hedwig. I think I need that in my life. They have some really beautiful beaded, they're called the Hogwarts Dueling Fingerless Mitts. And so they're knitted pretty simply, but these are all golden beads that are added. And so I think those are really nice. They have a lot of the basic, they have the basic scarf pattern in here, as well as the school cardigan. And they give, for the scarf and for the cardigans, they give the colorways for all of the different houses. So no matter which house you're in, you have something that you can make for yourself. Let's see. They have a really cute knitted mobile. My daughter's way past the age where she would kind of enjoy this, but I thought that was really cute as well. And something that I would potentially make. And very, very, very pretty mittens that I think would take a long time and be, quite a feat, but ultimately I think they're gorgeous. So this book is $30 in the US, but there are so many projects in this that I would make, and everything from like beginner kind of scarves, there are some basic lace things, there are little characters, there are sweaters. I mean, just, it's very well worth it in my opinion. And so you may start seeing a little bit of knitting on the channel. I don't know, but it's certainly inspiring me to maybe start a knitting project soon. So anyway, I wanted to share this with you. Continuing the chain, not a craft related book, but one of my favorite illustrators is Chris Riddell, I think you say it. But for the UK version of the Tales of Beetle the Bard, he was the illustrator. And I finally just went ahead and with a gift card, I ordered this from Amazon. So it looks, the illustrations of course look very different than the US version. It's a totally, different person. But I love his style. And I love the colors that are used in the book. And so anyway, I have started reading through this a little bit, and again, I've read this before, but I'm enjoying it a lot with his illustrations, and I think it was well worth it to order these. More Chris Riddell. Something else that I've liked for a long time is poetry. I love poetry books. I like modern poetry. I like classical poetry. I like ancient poetry. And he has written some poetry, but mostly he has selected poems and illustrated them in 2 different volumes. So first came Poems to Live Your Life By, and all of these are, you know, poems by other poets, but it's everybody from Robert Frost and Cecil Day Lewis, Shakespeare, Byron. Really nice. And I love that these editions have the ribbon. And the one that just came out is this one, Poems to Fall in Love With. So these are really, I think both of these had to be imported from the UK, but they're really nice, quick reads, and they look really nice on the shelf, and I'm super happy to have them. So anyway, if you like poetry books, I would say that they're really well worth the effort because they have a lot of balance between sort of old and new, and they're really well, I guess curated is the right word for it. And last but not least, I have a romance novel that I found. And I have many thoughts about the covers of romance novels and how they misrepresent what the novels are about. But here is The Prince by Catherine Ashe. And so this book, what caught me is that it is about a woman who in the early 1800s is trying to become a surgeon. She lives in the UK and she's trying to become a member of Edinburgh's all-male Royal College of Surgeons. And to do that, she has to dress up as a man. And this may be based partly on a true story because there was actually a very successful physician in the British Empire in the 19th century who was forced to kind of become male in order to go to medical school and to further practice. So when I saw, you know, woman physician and then the hero is a professional artist, I was like, sold. This is the book for me. So cover notwithstanding, I mean, it doesn't, you know, really tell you much about the book. I think this looks really good. So anyway, thank you for sticking around if you enjoyed my little miniature book haul and everything. But I will see you in a week or two, and hopefully we'll have a lot of stitching to show you and some more exciting stuff. And maybe at the end I'll talk a little bit about books. So happy stitching until then, and goodbye.